The last illegitimate child of Zeus that we'll be talking about in this section, although there are hundreds and thousands of them, but the last one we'll be talking about in this section on the Olympians is Dionysus. The Greeks called him Dionysus, the Romans called him Bacchus, but this one's kind of tricky because some of the Greeks called him Bacchus too. I wouldn't make a big deal about that, but for this course just remember Dionysus, the Romans called him Bacchus. Dionysus is the god of wine and ecstasy. Now, ecstasy in this sense means madness, insanity, craziness. Dionysus is the modern definition of a psychopath. You're going to be hearing lots about the psychopathic adventures of Dionysus. He's the only half-human Olympian, at least on this list. On some lists of the Olympians, Hercules, the Romans called him, shows up, and Heracles is half-human, but as far as the list that I've given you, he's the only half-human. His mother is a human woman named Semele. Zeus seduces Semele, and Zeus appears to her as something, I forget what. He always has to appear as something other than his full godliness, you know. And, well, one day Semele says, Zeus, if you really love me, you'll reveal yourself to me in your full godly power. And Zeus says, no, I can't do that. If you saw me the way that I really am, it would blow your mind. And Semele says, no, I want to see you in your full godly power. And Zeus says, no, you don't understand. If you saw me as I really am, it would blow your mind. And Semele says, no, come on, Zeus, let me see what you really look like. And so Zeus reveals himself in his full godly power and glory, and, well, it blows Semele's mind. She explodes. But there in the carnage of her exploded body is a little baby Dionysus. And so Zeus hollers for Hermes to come really fast. So Hermes comes running over with his wing boots and wing hat, and Zeus says, we got to do something about this little baby. And so Hermes takes Dionysus and cuts a gash in Zeus's thigh, and then inserts little baby Dionysus in Zeus's thigh and sews it up. And Zeus says, dude, my thigh? And Hermes says, well, you know, that's what I just did. And so Dionysus comes to full term inside Zeus's thigh, and then he's born. Well, when Dionysus is born, Zeus sends Hermes to take him far away where Hera can't find him. And Hermes takes him all the way to over here in the middle of Turkey. I'm trying to draw a circle around this area here in Cappadocia in Turkey, a place called Nysa, where Dionysus grows up and where Hera won't be able to find him and take revenge on him. It is kind of interesting here, if we back up to Dionysus's name, Dionysus, if we break this name Dionysus in half, Deo here is a Proto-Indo-European word that means God. Maybe Dionysus, the name the Greeks called him, means the god who came from Nysa. Maybe Dionysus was originally a Turkish god, we would say Anatolian in the ancient term. This wouldn't have been so uncommon for gods to move from one place to another. You know what I mean by that, the stories of the gods move from one place to another. Perhaps Dionysus was a local god in Nysa and was adopted into the Greek pantheon and given the name Dionysus as a hidden memory that he was originally a local god around the area of Nysa. Anyway, he grows up way out in Turkey. He grew up around tigers and lions. There's lots of wild grapes out there. And at some point in the story, he learns how to ferment wine. And he travels around teaching people how to make wine. Well, Hera finds out who he is, and he makes him go mad. He drives him insane. There's one temple that he has to go to be healed. So he makes his way to this one temple, and he goes to the temple, and he's healed of his madness, at least technically. He's no longer schizophrenic, but he becomes a psychopath. He starts killing people to get Zeus's attention in all kinds of horrible ways. Dionysus knows that he is the son of Zeus, and he wants to get his father's attention. We saw this with Phaethon a few presentations ago, the same general idea, you see. Well, in all kinds of horrible ways, Dionysus goes around killing people. We'll hear about some of them in this course. At one point, some pirates kidnap him to sell him on the slave market. He tells them that he is half god, that he's the son of Zeus, but the sailors don't believe him. Well, one sailor believes him. They start mocking Dionysus. He's tied up on the ship, going to the slave market, and they mock him, saying he's not really a son of Zeus. So he breaks his ropes, he goes ballistic. The sailors jump overboard, and Dionysus turns them all into dolphins. We see that scene on a piece of pottery that comes to us from about 500 BC out of ancient Greece. Over here you see Dionysus. He's now gained control of the ship. Down here are the dolphins that he's turned the pirates into. That's about the nicest thing Dionysus ever did to anybody, was turn them into dolphins. You can see that one of the symbols of Dionysus, the grape, a grapevine, is growing on the mast here. And another view, closer view of the scene. Well, a whole cult develops around Dionysus, and we'll be talking about that cult of Dionysus in just a few weeks. But he's the last of the Olympians we'll be talking about on this list.